I was very, very willing and to accept guidance from our students of color about what they wanted to see change on this campus here. We adopted and even added to, with input from other students, what MU for Mike Brown put forward. We took that very seriously. That was an agenda, if you will, for us to move forward on, and it was one we looked at every single day, beginning in December of 2014 till the end of my time as chancellor. The issue, I think, is simply how rapidly we could tackle each and every one of those things. Again, several things on the list were taken care of during my time. Some are still being taken care of right now. Others, I think, will take a long time to take care of just because of their very nature. And again, the question you have to ask yourself is, do you want to put a Band-Aid on a problem, or do you want to heal the wound completely? That's the question you have to ask yourself. Healing takes longer than putting a Band-Aid on. So we could have maybe done a few things differently to get a momentary satisfaction. We had accomplished something, but would it have been sustained? Would it have been something that really lived longer than one administration, than one student's time on campus? That's the real question you have to ask yourself here. But I think people are entitled to their opinions here. If they don't believe we did enough, that's okay. I can accept that. I believe we did what we could do that time period, and we had many more plans for things going forward that are in fact still in play. It was about mid to late September when the dean's issues began to surface then, and I became, for the first time, aware of them, for the very first time. What bothered me the most was about what the dean said is they never said it to me until the very end of the day. They've been talking about this apparently for a year, and with never coming to me about any of the issues that they raised with President Wolfe. If I have a problem with you, I'm going to come to you first. If I can't resolve it, I'll go to your boss. It bothered me they didn't come to me. I was left clueless, basically, that they were concerned about all these issues they raised in the letter that you've seen, and never once discussed it with me. They instead took it to the president and took it to the board. They didn't go to their boss, which is the provost. Didn't go to me, the provost's boss. They went to my boss and went to his boss. So that's interesting to me that they would choose to go on that route. I think the timing of this made the departure I had from the chancellorship happen at the moment it did, but it was not due to my poor handling or wonderful handling, either one of the racial events on campus, as far as I know. Part of the issue was Wolfe's lack of confidence in me at that point in time, towards the very end. But he was looking, I think, for a way for this to go away, this to be solved. And he saw my departure as one way to do that. I'm not sure it was very effective, but so be it. We met in mid-August regarding my yearly performance evaluation. We met probably almost 2 or 3 times a week about many things. But we had a formal meeting about that very thing, which took several hours. Left the meeting feeling comfortable about that. Weeks later, I received a letter from him praising me for my leadership on the campus and awarding me a pay raise as well as 90% of my incentive payment. That's how we were in September. The conflicts that we had towards the end were, like any other conflicts, due to very specific issues. He was, again, unhappy with the racial climate on the campus, as I was. He wanted to see solutions. We gave him what we had done, and he may have found that to be wanting in some respect. You can ask him that question. I can't really answer for him in this regard. But I do think that we worked professionally together up to the very end. We had a professional conversation the morning, November the 9th, right before he resigned. It's hard for a person running the system not to want to run the prize jewel, the flagship campus of the system as well. And that's not just me, that's historic. You can find dozens of examples of that contemporaneously if you want to, where you have conflict between a system leader and a campus leader. I mean, recently, you can look at UC system, for example, what happened at UC Davis. Those are issues that occur very regularly because you've got two very strong type A personalities typically, one running a campus, one running the system, and it's very natural for them to not come in conflict exactly, but to feel like there is not a very good defining line between their roles. Many of the things that we started back in 2015 and late 2014 and 2015 are still in progress, still in place. An example was we created a new vice chancellor's role for inclusion, diversity, and equity. That happened under my watch. The provost did that, put in place interim person before my resignation happened. Since that time, that person has departed, and Interim Chancellor Foley has brought in, temporarily at least, the system leader in that same type of role. And that's a good thing to have somebody there whose full-time role it is. We had a person whose role was our chief diversity officer, but she was buried a few layers deeper in the organization than the current leader is in that regard, which is a good thing to elevate that, I believe. Again, the funding for hiring of faculty of color has been in place before for my time. It was during my time and is in place now, maybe a larger amount now, which is a good thing. There are some departments on this campus where the faculty of color are far more than 10% of the faculty. Others where it's zero. Okay, we have a huge disparity here between our individual academic units on the campus as far as the number of faculty of color they might have. That just reflects the marketplace as well. Who can you hire out there? In physics, oftentimes in a given year, my field, we have one African American PhD in the entire country produced. Think about that. One. Now, there are over 4,000 universities in this country. Mizzou can hire this one person? Maybe, maybe not. Princeton wants them, Yale wants them, Harvard wants them, Stanford wants them. Mizzou wants them. The problem was really one not of unwillingness on the part of the university to make changes, but it was the pace of change. Students clearly are here for a time. They're here for 4 years, plus or minus, and they want to see substantive change while they're here. What they wanted us to do in some cases could be done quickly. In other cases, it would take years, perhaps a generation to be able to accomplish. And therein lay the tension we developed over time between the administration and the students was not so much of substance of what had to be done here, but more of the speed of it. How fast could it be done? The goal that I had, that our administration had here, was one of systemic change. I call it change people's hearts. Changing a person's heart is not going to happen in one moment or one day or 1 week or 1 month or probably 1 year. But perhaps over a period of years, you would be able to move things to a better place.